Hey y'all, it's Megan from Made for Mermaids, and today we're sewing these adorable super scrunchies. So they're just a really wide, fluffy scrunchie, and they are very easy to sew. You need to cut out a piece of 6.5 inch by 54 inch wide fabric. This is a knit fabric, and I really use this one because it's really easy to see the front and the back. This is a voile. This is like a rayon poly mix, but I like the apparel wovens because they're super soft and they're really, really light in your hair. The knit ones are going to be a little heavier. They still work. They just might be as fluffy as these ones. So after you cut your fabric, you're going to press it wrong sides together, and I've already done this on this one. It's hard to see since it's a knit, but you're going to press it with your iron, wrong sides together all the way down, and this is just to give you a center crease. And then after you do that, you're going to unfold it, and we're going to be placing the short ends together. When you're doing this, this fabric is quite wide. There we go, almost get it in the shot, but not quite. It's really wide. So you just want to make sure that it isn't twisted at all when you're going to sew the ends, because that would be a bummer. Have to unpick it. So you're just going to put the ends together like this, and we're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now that you have it stitched, if you're using a woven fabric, you can go ahead and press it either to one side or open. That'll just help it lay flat when you're pressing or threading the elastic through. Okay, now we're gonna lay this flat, and the wrong side should be out. And we're going to kind of burrito roll the scrunchie. And this is actually really easy to do with this one because it's so wide. You have a lot of space to work with. So you can see this is just layered on top of each other. I'm going to take the top layer and I'm going to kind of move this towards the center. Doesn't have to be perfect, just move it out of the way. And then I'm going to do the same with this side. So you can see this top layer is right on the center fold here of the bottom layer. Okay, and then you're going to take this bottom piece and wrap it around that roll, and you match the right sides and the raw edges together like that. So I'll do it one more time. This is all laying flat. I'm going to take this and this. So here's that layer right in the center and wrap it around. Now we're going to take it to the machine and we're going to start stitching right along here, again with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you're just going to stitch as far as you can. So again, this is really long and wide scrunchie. So it's fairly easy. When you're stitching, you want to make sure that the roll is as close to that center as possible so you don't catch it. You have a lot of room to work with on this one though, so it's not as easy to catch as a smaller scrunchie. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take it over to the machine and start stitching with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're going to start stitching. Again, that's all the top layers all rolled up inside of the outer layer. And you're just going to keep stitching, keep stitching. And you're eventually going to come to a point when you can't stitch anymore. I'll show you in just a second when I get there. Okay, and you can see we kind of come to almost an end. You can't, you know, really stitch anymore. You could go a little bit further, but then there's nothing left. And so when you get to this point, what you're going to do is you're going to start pulling this inside roll here. So you're going to, what I like to do is kind of with this hand hold the outside and you kind of pull, and you can see you can start lining up again when you have more fabric. So you're going to pull and then start aligning, and again you want to make sure this stays close to the fold. You keep sewing. I like to make my seam flat or to one side. I said that before. That's so when you put your elastic in, it's just not bulky. And then you just keep doing that. Every time you get to a spot where you can't sew anymore, you just pull a little bit more. You do always want to make sure your needle's down when you start to pull. You don't lose your spot. And you're just going to keep doing the same thing until you get almost back around. You want to leave a few inches open so we can flip this right side out, and so we can thread some elastic through. But the scrunchie is a little bit wider, so I leave about 2.5 inches, 3 inches open, so I have plenty of room to flip it. And kind of use your other hand to pull that extra through. It can kind of get stuck, especially this knit is a little bit thicker. And kind of play with it for a minute. Okay, and as you can see, we've made our way back to the beginning, right there. And you're just going to keep stitching this to about right there. You're going to leave a little bit open, like I said. And then we're going to flip it right side out and pull the elastic through. Okay, if you're using a woven, you can kind of finger press this opening, the seam allowance back. It'll make it much easier at the end to stitch it closed. If you're using a knit like I am, you're going to have to press it with an iron. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. Okay, now we're just going to pull it right side out. There we go. And then you can see when you press that, just makes it easier to close. Now we're going to take our elastic. I'm using 7.5 inches of 3/4 inch knit elastic. And you can adjust the elastic for how thick your hair is, how tight you want the hairband. You can change it up if you want it a little bit tighter. Now, what we're going to do is thread the elastic. So you're going to take the elastic and you're going to push it through. And what I like to do is when the elastic end gets to about right here, I like to stop and clip this or pin it at the opening so you don't lose it, because this is again, this is a really wide, long scrunchie, so you can lose it. All right, then you just keep feeding it through till you get to the other, right till you get to the opening again. Okay, so once you have it threaded, see here, it's starting to look like a scrunchie. You're going to overlap the ends. I just kind of like to stretch it a little bit so you have as much to work with as you can. You're going to overlap the ends just like this, and you're going to zigzag stitch. And I overlap them about 1/2 inch. And you're going to zigzag stitch back and forth to hold it in place. Okay, so we got our we zigzagged our elastic. It's all in here. Now the only thing we have to do is just close this little opening. And so what I do is I just use a straight stitch and just stitch right along the edge. You could also hand stitch this closed if you wanted, but it's such a small opening on the outside, and if you used a thread color that blends, it's so full you really can't really see it. And that is your complete scrunchie. They're so full and big, and they look so cute. They'd make a great stocking stuffer, or to even like wrap around a gift, put on a wine bottle, I guess on a water bottle for teens or tweens. My daughter loves these. As soon as I saw these and I made some, my daughter stole them all. So I think anyone would like them. I love wearing them on my wrist because they kind of look like a bracelet. And then you can just throw your hair up when needed. I hope you guys love this freebie. If you sew it up, please show us in our Facebook group. Tag me on Instagram. I love to see them so much, and I hope you come back for the next few days of our 12 days of Christmas freebies. Thank you. Bye.